Here we go. Exodus 26 and 27. The pattern for the tabernacle. Some of the most riveting reading in all of the Bible, I'm sure. It's a bit funny to read this because what it is it's like a text message describing a blueprint. I think we would be much better served by seeing the blueprint itself. And so when you're reading these passages, it's good to have the blueprint to see what they actually were building. And so I've included that in this week's email, in today's email. So if you have a look, and I'm showing the screen now, so if you're not looking at your device, take a moment to take a look. But this is what the tabernacle would have looked like. A blueprint of it anyway. So basically, we have two sides. We have the outer court and then the inner court. And in the middle here, we have the tabernacle itself. Around the outside, we have the curtain fence. And this is the entrance. Important to notice that the entrance is going from east to west. It's important to notice that because actually when Adam and Eve left the Garden of Eden, they left from west to east. They headed eastward, whereas now we are re-entering into God's space in entering the tabernacle. So we go from east to west. In the outer court, you have the altar for the burnt offerings. It's made of bronze. You have the laver made of bronze as well for the priests to wash their hands in. And then you have the curtain into the holy place. And once you've passed through this curtain, there's a table and there's a menorah, so a candle stand. And then right before the curtain into the most holy place, there is the altar of incense. And once you go through the curtain into the most holy place, you find the Ark of the Covenant. That's what it looks like. We're actually going to take a little tour courtesy of a video that I found on YouTube, and I'm going to talk you through the elements of the tabernacle. So here it is in the middle of the campsite of the Israelites. The outer curtain is plain white, and as you go closer and closer to the most holy place, the curtains become more elaborate. They're weaved with gold and colored material, which was hard to come by in the ancient world. And even the furniture in the courtyard, it's bronze. But once you enter into the tent, all of the furniture is gold. So we'll see that as we take a closer look. This is the curtain, so we enter in. And here is the courtyard. We see a priest preparing the sacrifice. We haven't heard about that yet, but this is the altar that they would have made their burnt offerings on. Notice it has blood and horns. It would have been a messy place. And so there was a necessary wash basin for the priests. This is the tabernacle itself. Its poles are gold, and it has numerous curtains. So the first curtain, blue. The outer curtain, thick leather of some variety. And then further curtain, and then a fourth curtain. And once you step into the tabernacle, you start to see how elaborate this place is. So you'll see on the right-hand side, there is the table. On the left-hand side, there is the candle stand or the menorah, the lampstand. And then directly in front, we have the altar of incense and the curtain into the most holy place. The menorah, the significance of the menorah is actually that the whole tabernacle is meant to be reminding us about God's sacred space. And the way that we know about that is through the Garden of Eden. And so the tabernacle itself is constantly reminding us of the Garden of Eden. In the little elements and the little details of the tabernacle, we're reminded of the Garden of Eden. And so the menorah is seven lights, symbolizing the 7 days of the creation story. And it's important to realize that the Levitical priests were instructed to light this lampstand in the morning and in the evening. In the morning and in the evening. In the morning and in the evening. Which is the language of creation, in the morning and then there was evening and then there was morning the first day. And then there was evening and there was morning the second day. So these elements are reminding us of the creation. All of the furniture inside the tent is gold. Remember that there was gold in the Garden of Eden. And then you have two cherubim on the curtain into the most holy place. Just like in the Garden of Eden, there are two cherubim guarding the way in so that people could not return to eat from the tree of life. Once you enter into the most holy place, you have the Ark of the Covenant, which is the thickest gold in the whole structure, the most valuable item in the whole tabernacle. It was, again, guarded by cherubim, two cherubim on the roof. The cherubim, their job was to guard sacred space. And so that's why we have the cherubim there, because this most holy place is the place where it's called the mercy seat, because this is where God has his throne on earth. The tabernacle, that's it. So what's the significance of all these things? Well, all of the garden imagery and just the way that the tabernacle look, it's meant to tell us that God is making a space like Eden again, a space where he can dwell with his people. Now, exactly how God is able to dwell with his people, when they are unclean, impure, sinful people, and he is a holy and good God, you'll have to wait to the Levitical laws in Leviticus to find out how God is able to dwell there. But here we see God setting up that space for him to be among his people again. The other significance of the tabernacle is that the story of the Exodus begins with the Israelites building buildings for Pharaoh. But the Exodus finishes with the Israelites building a tabernacle for Yahweh. And so again, it raises the question, who won this fight? Was it Pharaoh or was it Yahweh? Well, clearly it's Yahweh. And like I said before, this is God making his dwelling among his people. This is a really important thing to recognize about the tabernacle. God dwelt among his people. And Jesus actually, he picked up the language. The language of tabernacle is used about Jesus in the New Testament. In John chapter 1, verse 4, it says, Jesus took on flesh and he dwelled among us. And that word dwelled among us, it's actually he tabernacled among us. And so he made God's presence available on earth. That's Jesus. This tabernacle building, that is a little pointer to Jesus in this story. See you next week.